in Hollywood.
In an effort to stop Beijing censorship in Hollywood, Texas Senator Ted Cruz introduced a bill in late May. If passed, it would cut off federal assistance to Hollywood studios if they censor their films in China.
It's common practice for major Hollywood films to contract with the Pentagon to use jets and tanks and to film on bases and aircraft carriers. The Script Act should be a wake-up call for Hollywood. Studios would be forced to choose between the assistance from the federal government or the money that they want from China.
In 2019, China's movie market raked in over $9 billion, only second to the U.S. For Hollywood's top 25 grossing films, more than 10% of their global box office revenue came from China. Hollywood is an important part of American pop culture and was once a synonym for the American dream, but now it increasingly complies with Beijing's censorship in exchange for a piece of their lucrative market.
Beijing censors are quick to edit or outlaw movies that criticize China, even in minor ways. For the movie World War Z, they had to cut the script's mention of a virus because it originated in China. The movie Red Dawn was digitally edited to make the villains North Korean, not Chinese.
Similar changes were made to 2016 superhero film Doctor Strange. Marvel's original comics feature a Tibetan character known as Ancient One, but in the movie, the character was made to be Celtic instead, so as not to offend the regime.
In the Top Gun sequel that's set to come out later this year, the Taiwanese and Japanese flags on the back of Maverick's jacket were removed to appease the Chinese Communist Party. Think about that for a second. What message does it send that Maverick, an American icon, is apparently afraid of the Chinese communists? That's ridiculous.
China only allows about 40 films into its market each year. Many studios seek to appease China and put up with its censorship in a bid to push their productions into the country's 70,000 theaters.
The number is deliberately kept low. And in exchange for access, American film companies submit their films to China's censors, who often force them to change those films. American companies have learned this fact, and they'll often change the films even in advance of submitting. As a result, they control not just what audiences see in China, but also what Americans see.
To bypass the 40-film quota, American producers often partner with Chinese production companies.
Many U.S. studios participate in official Sino-U.S. film co-productions, which circumvent the film quota in return for allowing Chinese regulators to shape content at every stage of the production process.
One example being the $150 million 2016 film, The Great Wall, starring Matt Damon. The movie was criticized for whitewashing after its release and underperformed globally. It lost as much as $75 million. Besides policing content, Beijing also bans particular actors from appearing on screen if they speak out against the regime.
You know, there are actors that are not allowed to be in certain movies, that can't get Hollywood blockbuster movies because you can't distribute it in China. They won't let you, like Richard Gere. You can't have Richard Gere movies in China because he's pro-Tibet.
An outspoken human rights activist, Gere, starred in a 1997 film called Red Corner. The production is banned in China because it includes content that sheds light on the corruption in China's judicial system. Brad Pitt was also banned in China up until 2014 because of his role in a film about the Chinese regime's controversial takeover of Tibet. While strictly limiting American films in China, Chinese companies have, on the other hand, been buying up American theaters and studios. In 2012, Chinese production company Wanda bought the second largest theater chain in the U.S., AMC, for $2.6 billion. A few years later, in 2016, it bought leading Hollywood production company, Legendary Entertainment, for $3.5 billion. Chinese tech companies Tencent and Alibaba are also increasingly investing in Hollywood film studios. California Congressman Brad Sherman represents more of the area home to the U.S. film industry than any other official.
And we are so proud that we in Southern California shape the world's dreams and the world's thoughts. But there are those who think they should be shaped in Beijing to promote China's preferred narratives.
He says the Chinese regime's economic coercion is interfering with the freedom of expression in the U.S. But now, as the pandemic persists, that economic power has been wounded. Movie theaters in China have been closed since late January. They're expecting to reopen in June, but this year's box office revenue could be cut in half, predicted to reach only about $4.2 billion. Hollywood was also disrupted. Film productions have ground to a halt, and major film releases have been canceled or delayed until next year, or even to 2022. With the growing number of countries calling to investigate China's role in the pandemic and U.S.-China tensions on the rise, Hollywood may be forced to rethink its cozy relationship with China after all.